Hello everyone and welcome to a Saturday stream. Today I'm going to be talking about Notion blocks, specifically how to manipulate Notion blocks, maybe for aesthetics, putting them side to side, changing some of the colors and things like that. How to build a global blocks where you can actually see the same block in different pages, and when you change it in one place, it will actually change it somewhere else. I'm also going to show you how you can put columns inside of toggles and manipulate some of the blocks around. And we're going to go through all of the other basic blocks that are in Notion. So before we get started, let me know in chat where you're coming in from, and I will share my screen. So as you can see, when we go into a page, this is a top level page inside of Notion. You get all the options to turn it into a database. The last stream, I actually went over databases, so I'm not going to go through any of those today. But what we're going to do is when we click in here, this actually adds in our first block. So you can see here we have this block highlighted, and all I did was push the escape key on my keyboard, and you can see we've got it highlighted. I'm going to show you some of the markdowns and some of the keyboard shortcuts to make all of these blocks as well, just to speed up that process. But this block is a text block. And when you push enter inside of a text block, it actually creates another text block. So we've got the two here. I push Control A on my keyboard just to highlight all of those. Now, that is the basic text block that you will be using pretty much most of your use case inside of Notion, because that's where you type everything. That's where you do most of your work. Having said that, though, when you are writing essays, so I wrote my dissertation inside of Notion. When you're writing paragraphs inside of Notion, so if you're writing lots of and then text, you see I pushed an enter. I now have two blocks. So if I want to highlight this text, I can't highlight the top text as well, because then it highlights the blocks. So what you could do instead is when you're inside a text block, hold Shift and Enter, and then it stays inside that block. So now we can highlight all of the text rather than the blocks instead. I'm going to hold Shift and Delete to get rid of that block. That's another shortcut that you can use. And now I'm just going to get rid of that text. Now you can see inside of this block, I'm going to use the / command, and this is going to show me all of the other blocks and all of the other options I get inside of Notion. So we've got the text block, which is what we've just gone through. We have the page, which is less of a block and more of something that you just use inside of Notion. You have the to-do list block. Then I'm going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard to go down. We've got the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and bullet list, numbered list, toggle, etc. We're going to go through all of the shortcuts on building some of these. The inline mentions, the databases, which, like I said, we went over in the last stream. Then we have media, which I'll go over in a stream in a few days. How can I make a bulleted list in a text block, or isn't it possible? So essentially, a bullet list is a block in itself. So you can't make a bulleted list in a text block. Instead of it being a text block, it would be a text block. You can tab them over to make them nested, which I'll show you in a minute. Then we have the embeds, and then all the way down the bottom we have the advanced blocks, which I'll go through towards the end of the stream. So when we're looking at bulleted lists, because that's what you've asked for, Lizzie, you can see we've got the bulleted list here. We could either type bullet and then it comes up, or what you could do as a shortcut is to use the dash and then space, and that creates a bulleted list. Push enter, and then we've got there. So now I've got essentially three different blocks that are bullet blocks. If I add a text block up here, I can come into here and then push tab. And what that does is it nests the bullet block inside of the text block. So now when I move this text block, it moves the bullet list as well. So I can come all the way to the top, and then I tab that across, and now this bulleted list is nested inside this text block. So for moving purposes, you can see it's all together. So if that's what you're looking for, there it is. If you're just looking for bulleted lists, then it's just having different bullet blocks going down. What I can then do is I can then turn these bullet lists into a numbered list. So I could use the / turn into, and then a bullet list, and push enter. Oh, / turn into, let's go numbered list, because that is slightly different. And now we've got the 1. Thanks, that will make things easy. Awesome. And then we've got the 1, and then you can go 2 and 3. But I'm actually going to use a keyboard shortcut. So if I highlight these, I'm on Windows, and on Mac, I'm not 100% sure what the keys are, but on Windows, it's Control-Shift. I will leave a link in the description to my shortcuts page. But I can use Control-Shift, and if I push 4, it will go to do blocks. If I push 5, there's the bullet list we had. 6 is the numbered list, and you can see it's now 1, 2, 3, going all the way down, which makes life much easier. I push the enter, there's a 4. If I get rid of this, then push enter again, and then add, say, oh, that should have worked. There we go. 1 dot space. We've added another numbered list. So we have 1, 2, 3 space, and then another numbered list. So we can go into there like that. And because this is all nested, I can now move this all the way down underneath there. So we've got another text block up here, and I can move all of that together when you're moving things up and down through the pages. To make columns, all you'd need to do is drag the block, go all the way to the side, and you get that blue long line down the side, and that's going to now create 2 columns. I'm going to make this page wider so we can see everything that's going on. Now, because we have these blocks nested inside of this text block, you can't actually make a column inside here naturally. So if you wanted, you can see here we have all the options to move it up and down. If I want to move this next to this block, I can't. It doesn't let me. I either move it out or I move it somewhere else, which is completely outside, which is not what I wanted. And what essentially I'm asking it to do is I'm asking it to make a column inside of another block. And that could be the same as a toggle block. So if I make a toggle block, which could be written like this. Oh, I got rid of the block, didn't I? Let's make a text block. Let's drag that over there. So I'm going to go slash toggle. So you can see there's the toggle list. That's one way of making it. Another way of making it is to use the greater than sign and enter. Now I have the toggle block. I'm going to push Control and Enter on my keyboard to go inside the toggle block, Enter to go down. So now I've made a toggle block. It's exactly the same as what we've got over here, text and then a numbered list. But instead of it being a text, it's a toggle. Now, to make columns inside of this toggle block, you actually need to make a page to make the formatting. So to make a page, again, we can go slash page, and we can make a page that way. Or to use one of those keyboard shortcuts, I'm going to write the name of the page, Control-Shift-9. Now that's made the page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of these. I'm going to drag them and drop them into the page. So now we have 1, 2, 3. I'm now going to make another list. List. Now what I'm going to do is make those columns. So you can see I've now made 2 columns, so 2 list columns inside of a page, and that page is inside of this block. Now I can come into here, turn into text, and there are those columns that we wanted. I'm going to get rid of the name of the page because I didn't need that, and then drag that back up there. I'm going to put a divider in, so I could use slash divider, or again, another keyboard shortcut is using the dash 3 times. And there's your divider. So I've now got the toggle, and then I have the 2 columns nested inside of this block. And the same process works over here. So I'd make a page, make those 2 columns inside the page, then turn it into text. If you do have any questions, make sure you put them in chat and let me know. So moving on, you can see when we're going to the slash, so we've gone through the text, we've gone through the page. The to-do block is very, very simple. That was Control-Shift-4 on the keyboard if you wanted to go for a shortcut, or you could use the bracket key, and that makes a to-do. That goes on and off, very easy. Oh, let's get rid of that. Heading 1, 2, and 3, they are exactly the same as text blocks. So if we were to go slash and heading, you can see there's the heading 1, 2, and 3. They function the same as text blocks, but they are just bigger. So that was a heading 3, that's a heading 2, and then that's a heading 1. And that's Control-Shift-3 for heading 3, Control-Shift-2 for heading 2, and Control-Shift-1 for heading 1. So that is a quick way to make those. Another way you could do that is by using the hash. So if I use hash and space, heading 1, that's a markdown. Hash 2, space, markdown, that's heading 2. And hash 3, space, that's markdown again, and that's heading 3. He's gone, isn't he? He's gone? I haven't gone. Are you talking to me? I haven't disappeared. I'm still here. I'm not quite sure what you're referencing there, Lizzie. I don't think I've gone. I'm still here. But I will carry on. Let me know in chat if I have disappeared. I mean, I guess if I've disappeared, you won't know I'm talking. I will put something quickly in chat. There we go. Let's go back there. Okay. So go slash. So we've gone through the headings, bulleted list, numbered list, and toggle. Yes. Okay. Whew. Panic over. Thank you, Brigitte. Okay. So we've gone through the toggle, we've gone through the divider. So the quote block. Again, we can use the quote block in there, and that's going to bring us the line up to the side. Another shortcut we can use is okay. Whew. Panic over. You can use the quote marks and the push space. And that's another shortcut to getting that quote block. And then you can write in whatever quote you need. So again, that was the quote marks and then space. Right, refresh brought you back. Oh, whew. Good. Okay. So that is that one, that one's that one. Link to page. Now, linking to a page, you need a page to be able to link to. So I'll do that one in a second when we go through the page. And then we have the callout block. And the callout block is /CA, and then it brings it up and you can push enter. And what this allows you to do is highlight certain text. And you can pick any emojis you want, and the emoji menu is exactly the same, so you can upload an image and you can use links in here as well. And you can have a background, and this is where you can customize the block. So each block, you can either pick the color or you can pick the background. So let me just clarify this. When you're looking at the block settings for aesthetics, you either set a background or you set a color. You can't set both. So if I go default, you can see it's disappeared. So that color background has disappeared. If I then change that again to, let's say, yellow, oh, wow, that's really light yellow. Oh, you can see it on the stream, that's good. So it's now yellow. If I then come into here, I think this will work. Let's go brown. There we go. So it's changed the color of the text. Can you see that well? Let's try and change it to another color. This is one of my critiques of Notion, is their color selection. But you can see, so the text is now red, but the background color has disappeared. So whenever you're trying to change the aesthetics, if you pick anything in here, this is the block setting. So you change the background color of the block or the text color in the block. So I'm going to use a blue background in the block. Now that red text has disappeared. But what I can do is I can highlight the text. Then I can change the color of the text natively. So I'm now going to put a red text on it. So now I have red text, and that's a text setting, and a blue background, and that is a block setting. And this works exactly the same when you're in a normal text block. So I'm in a normal text block. I'm going to change the color. If I change the color again to blue, the text block is now blue. You can see there's the blue of the text block. There is the blue of the callout block. If I then change the settings of the block to red, the background color's gone, and now the text is red. So what I would need to do, if I wanted that, is to come into here and go blue background, then highlight the text, and then add in our text. So now we have red text with a blue background. The other way around doing this is by going, into here, going red text. So the block setting is now red text, highlighting the text, coming into here, and then changing the background of the text to blue. But this gives you a different aesthetic because you've used the text background to blue. So this can bring in loads of other options. So instead of having that block background, you can just have the text background and then have the block settings to a color. So now when I add more text, you can see the text is red because of the block settings. Then if I come and highlight this bit of text, I can then change that to default. And now that background color of the text is gone. So the highlight of the text, because that's the text setting, has disappeared. And that can be useful in aesthetics, and you can use any of the colors that you can see inside of Notion for that. Right, page. So I'm going to create a new page, brand new page, and this is our page. Inside that page, I'm going to make another page just for reference. So I'm using Control-Shift-9, again, just as a reminder to make these pages. So you can see here's the breadcrumb. Blocks is the original first page. Page is the second page. Page 2 is the page I made inside of blocks. Right. But now what I want to do is I want to see page 2 on my blocks page. And how I do this is I make a link to page. So I'm going to go /link, go link to page, and then I can search for page 2. And there is page 2. So now I have a link to this page. So I can go straight to that page. You can see there's the breadcrumb. The breadcrumb is still the same. Another way of doing this is by @mentioning the page. So I can @mention and then go page 2. And it's searching for it. And oh, come on, Notion, why haven't you come up? Let's try that again. Oh, there it is. Page 2. Just took a while for it to find it in search. And now these look different because this one is a @mention. It functions the same. And this is a link to page. So this is a block. So this is a link to block. This whole block links me to the page. This is an @mention. So I can now type more stuff. And this still functions as a link. And this is essentially a backlink. Now, instead of using the you could also use the two brackets, the two square brackets, to search for those pages. Or if you wanted to, you could add a subpage by using the plus. But that's moving into backlinks, which I won't go into in this live stream. So let's very quickly just get rid of all of that. So now we have this link to page, and I can come straight to here. And you see, here is that backlink showing, okay, it goes to blocks, because that's the mention we've made. Now, as we come into our blocks, you can see we've gone through text, gone through all of these ones up here. This link to page block is the one on the blocks page. But if we scroll all the way down, all the way past the other things that we're going to go through in a second, you can see we have breadcrumb. Now, breadcrumb shows us this breadcrumb inside of the page. So you can see we can now navigate through using the breadcrumb block. And we can put this block anywhere we want. And the advantage of using the breadcrumb is if you want to navigate to specific pages inside of the doc, maybe this is an SOP, maybe it's a wiki page, and they don't want to have to go all the way to the top. They could be reading through it. You can have the breadcrumb in the page. Maybe you want the breadcrumb at the bottom of the page. It's entirely up to you. That is how this block functions. The one thing I will say is if you have lots and lots of pages, the breadcrumb block will actually get cut off to how long the block is. So if you have another block next to it, like this, and you cut it down, you can see now it starts to get dotted and it doesn't quite get as clear. You can see the worse it gets. So that's just something to note if you are going to use the breadcrumb block inside of a page. Right, so now we've got all these pages set up, I'm going to show you how to make a global block. And what a global block is a block, but you can see it in multiple different places, and wherever you change it, it will also change it in those other pages. So we can see we're going to make this a global block. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto the side of the block, I'm going to copy link. So I'm copying the link to the block. If you're in the Chrome browser, you could use the URL link to the block up there, but I find this easier for global block creation. Now, once you've got that link copied into your clipboard, you then need to paste it there because we're going to adapt this slightly. So I brought my notepad up. This is just typing in Notepad in Windows. You could use a Windows file. You could put it into Notion if you wanted to. And I'm going to paste that in. Now we get this long URL of what that block is. And to make a global block, you go from this first dash, you highlight all of this up to the hash, including the hash, and get rid of it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. So that was Control-C, copy. And now I'm going to go to a page that I want the block to be in. So now I'm page 2, Control-V to paste it. And now I'm going to link to page. And what this has done is this is the block we had on the first page. But now I'm going to add a couple of words. And what I've now done is I've changed the global block. So when I go back to this blocks page, it's also changed it here. So I can now get rid of that there, go back to page 2, and it's been changed there as well. And you can have as many global blocks as you want throughout your space. So this can be really powerful when you're using Notion as a website or as a wiki page, or if you have notes that you want to have all over your space, you can use a global block in your space to show information and edit it all over the place. Right. So that is global blocks. We're getting through these pretty quick. Liking it. So mention a person. This is with the at mention. This is very similar to what I did with this page here. Is you use the at and then so I can come so I can use the slash mention, then select mention, and then go through all of the people in this space. Or the quicker way to do that is just putting the at. Right. The date reminder and the, where is it? Okay, so the mention page and the mention, that's what I meant to say. The mention a page and mention a person are essentially the same thing. You can use the at for both of them, just like I did with the page over here. The date reminder, again, you can use the at, or you can push inside of the creation. So you could use slash date reminder, enter, and then type in something. So now it's going to at mention today. Or what you could do is slash is at today, and then okay, time in there. So let's put 9 a.m. And what this is going to do is it's going to give you a reminder because I pushed on it, and now I can come to here and then go reminder. And then I can pick whatever reminder I want. You don't have to have the time. So if I go at tomorrow and push enter, I can then come into here and add a reminder on in this way. But this is specific to the day. So it doesn't give you as much flexibility when it comes to the reminders that you want. But if it's just a daily reminder, you could put it for the day before. And there you go. It will give you the 9 a.m. the day before for the reminder. And you'll be familiar with, if you watch the database stream, this reminder pop-up, this date pop-up window is the same one you have inside of that date property in a database. So you can add reminders in a database, or you can add them in a page, which is very nice. Now, if we have, for example, a reminder for yesterday at 4 p.m., and then go at the time, you can see it's now red. And it's red because it's overdue. If, for example, I come into here and go reminder, let's go on the day, this is blue. So the gray is just showing that you've at mentioned a time. The blue is showing you have a reminder that's upcoming, and the red is showing you have a reminder that is in the past. So those colors are going to differentiate depending on where you set the reminder, essentially. Then I believe when we move down, we have the emojis. Now the emojis can be put inside the page using, oh, look at that. It's given us the menu. I love that. So you can use the colon to select any emoji. Now you get the emoji menu just like me. If you're on Mac, I think they look slightly different, but you can scroll through them. And if you know the name of the emoji you're looking for, so let's have a look for, what's this one called? Grinning face. You can actually type that in. So if I go colons, oh, that was an at, colons, and then I can't spell. Bringing, there we go, face, enter, it adds it in. So if you want to have emojis inside of your page, you can just use the colon and then type whatever it is. So there's another face. Or you can go through the emoji menu by using the slash and then go in the emoji menu. Something to bear in mind, in a database, these shortcuts don't work. So when you're in a database, you have to use the actual shortcut. So that was Windows and full stop on my keyboard because I'm on Windows. If you're on Mac, you need to use, I believe it's Command Shift Space, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that, to make sure that the emojis work inside of there. Right, so that, I believe, is all of the basic blocks and all of these ones. Inline math. I have done a whole video on inline maths because it can get quite complicated, but essentially inline maths gives you a lot of flexibility with obviously math equations, but with colors as well. Now, again, you can use a slash command, inline. I'm going to have to type all of it, aren't I? Inline math, there we go, inline math, and it brings up this separate window. Now, this separate window gives you a whole new sort of like window to different things that you can use. If you type in just normal words, it will put it in, wow, I can't type. Normal words, it will put it in the LaTeX format. But what you can do, because it's in LaTeX, you can use different commands to ask it to do certain things. So I'm asking it to put it in orange text. So now the text color is orange. And I can select any color I want. I can select any font I want. So let's go with that font or that font. And I can change them how I want. So inline maths gives you a lot of flexibility when it comes to how you want to display information, colors, and lots of other, obviously, mathematical symbols. Now, with the inline maths, you can either have it inline or it is actually, let's type in math and then it will come up. It's actually advanced block as well. And the advanced block is useful for inline maths when you're looking for centered text. So when you go block equation, and let's bring it outside of this column, this is always going to be in the middle. So the text is always going to be in the middle. So this is one way, this is one way you can actually have a centered title on your page. So if you're looking for an aesthetics page, you could use an inline math block that goes across the page and it will be centered because the inline math block is always centered. And you can change this. So I've used just a slash to put the space in because without that, it won't put the space. And you can change all of these so they can all have different colors. They can all have different fonts. You can put different symbols, loads of stuff in here. Let's just put that in there. For example, we could make that, you could make that large. And then you can customize it how you want. So inline maths for a public page could be really useful when you're looking to change the aesthetic of the page or change the aesthetic of, let's just put a space in there, or change the aesthetic of your homepage or dashboard or anything like that. Scrolling down. I believe we've gone through the majority of the basic blocks now, and we've gone through most of the advanced blocks. I think the template block is the last one to cover. Oh, no, tell a lie. Table of content. Now, table of content as a block, I personally don't use, and there are other extensions that you can have inside of Notion. So the Notion Boost, I believe, has a side table of content that goes to the side of the page, which is very nice. The Notion Enhancer, I believe, does the same thing, and Evergreen Notes also does the same thing. I will be sharing a video on lots of different add-ons that you can put onto Notion that gives you lots of different flexibility when it comes to the aesthetics of your page. But the table of content essentially gives you a table of content, and what this is going to do is it's going to look for all the heading blocks. So I'm going to use a markdown, and we're going to go heading 2, and then we go heading 3. You can see it's making this table of content for the content in the entire page. So if I now do this, heading 1 is going to go down the page. So heading 2 was the first one, so it's there. Heading 3 is there. And no matter where you move this block, it will always stay in the order of the page. So if I now drag heading 1 above heading 2, you can see the table of content has now changed, heading 1, 2, and 3. And you can click on those, and it will take you to that block. You can see they're now getting highlighted. So this is a very nice block to have at the top of your page, maybe for a wiki, and then they can jump down to the page, and then you can use the links, the backlinks, the link to page, the link to block, or anything like that to jump back to where you were. An example that you could use, for example, if this is a block that I want to jump to, I can copy the link to the block, very similar to what we did with the global block, and I can now paste that onto text. So I'm going to come into here, and now I'm going to paste it onto text. So now I have a link. You can see it even tells me on the page blocks. So I push that, and it's going to take me to the block. That is one way that you can actually manipulate and create your own table of content to jump you around your space. But if, for example, you want to go back to your table of content, you can copy the link of the table of content. You can come into here. So now, for example, this is, as an example, this is at the top of the page, and I want to go to heading 3. I can push heading 3. Now it's going to take me to heading 3. If I want to go back to the top of the page, I can now click on this heading 3, and it's going to take me to that table of content block. This is a way you can jump around and navigate through your space without having to go through the sidebar. So it acts more of a website interactive page space like that, rather than rather than using the sidebar. Do you have a list of the fonts available? I personally don't have a list of all the fonts available, but if you go into the Notion support for the LaTeX, so let's come into here. This is a shortcut for inline math. So math, boom, there's the inline math. I can never remember how to actually get to it. So you can see if you type something in and it shows it wrong, you can go to the Learn More, and this is going to go to the Notion help page. You could also go through the help bar down here, but this is going to take you to the Notion help page, and that gives you the KTeX, and then there's loads of other cheat sheets and stuff on there like that. I believe Red Gregory may have a page on her blog that goes through Nerdy Notioneer. Good to see you. I believe Red Gregory has a page on her blog that goes through the font sizes for inline math. She may go through some of the fonts as well, fonts available, but it's LaTeX. It's just normal LaTeX, so any LaTeX should work. To be completely honest, a lot of the time, I just type in random letters and you'll find different types of font. That obviously isn't a font. That's not a font either. I don't know. Oh, there we go. TP is a font. Oof. I didn't know that one. But yeah, so any LaTeX abbreviation will work inside of Notion, but I don't have a list. That's probably something I should make. Right. So that is now the table of contents. And I believe the last one is the template button. The template button is probably the most confusing block that there is inside of all the blocks inside of Notion when it comes to just blocks. And the reason is because there's a whole configuration that you need to be done. Now, to summarize this block, this is the name of the block. So this is what's going to show up. So name of the template block. And that's all that's going to show up. That's all that section does. But the power of this block comes where whatever you put inside the template block. So I'm going to put to do, because that was already in here, another block. And what this is doing, basically, is it's configuring all of these blocks and saying, okay, if you push this button, duplicate all of these blocks. She shows 2 fonts. Okay, I know of about 9 or 10 off the top of my head. So SF, BF, TT, BBF, and then there's a couple of other more, what would I say, calligraphy style fonts. So yeah, I will get onto that. I will make a note. I will make a note to myself. Let's just put it over here for the moment. Make cheat sheet for inline math fonts. There we go. So I will get on that and try and surface that somewhere. But yeah, so this template block, what it allows you to do is essentially duplicate every block you have in a page. So this could be a template. This could be a list of questions. It could be anything that you want. Now, when I close this, I push this, it's going to generate all of that stuff. Now, one of the quirks with the template block is you need to have a block underneath it for it to actually throw it underneath the stuff. So you can see I now have a block underneath it. I'm going to push the button. And there is all of those blocks. And I can push this as many times as I want, and it's going to generate those blocks again because it's duplicating the blocks that are in the button. Now, again, very similar to what we had up here with the nested text block and the nested toggle block is inside the template button. If you want to put columns inside of here, you actually need to use the same trick. So I'm going to make a page inside of here. I'm then going to go col1, col2, ktext.org, that has the font and colors listed. There we go. Awesome tip. Awesome and early notion here. I will probably have a look at that after stream just to make sure that it is good. And then anyone that's watching, I will make sure I put a link at the top of the description so people can go to that page. Right, so we've got the page inside the template block. We've got col1 and col2. Now let's come back to our template. Oh, we came out, didn't we? Yeah, so now we've got the page in here, and again, I'm going to do the same thing as we did last time. I'm going to turn into text, and now we have columns inside the template button. Gonna look there then. Now, knowing how to make a global block. Yeah, the global block is so useful, especially when you have lots of things going on. So now when we use that block, we now have columns inside the template block alongside all the other blocks we want. Something else to note when you're using the template block, because there are lots of nuances with the template block. I'll go away. Shift delete, I use it all the time because you just get rid of the whole block rather than having to get rid of text. Something else to note, if you have a page inside of a template block, so let's make a page. Again, I've used Control-Shift-9 for that shortcut. Move it to the top. Now when I generate this template, it's going to throw me into that page. So it's going to put me in the page that I've just generated from the template block, which can be irritating or it can be useful. It depends how you want to use it. So if I go back to where I was, you can see that was another keyboard shortcut. That was the Control and then the bracket key, this key. So you can see we've got that page. Now, if I come into the template block and I want this page at the top, but I don't want to go into it, I need to put a space. Oh, thank you. I need to put a space, so another text block above it. Now when I close the block, and there it is, and I push the block, it's not going to throw me into that page straight away. It's just going to give me a list of pages. So as an example, using this template block, you may have a lot of recurrent tasks. And what you may want to do, this is just an example use, I think Marie Paulin uses this at the moment for her recurring tasks, is you could have task 1, task 2, task 3. And I'm going to turn all of these into pages. Now I can close this. Now when I push this template block, bam, there's all of these pages. And then I can click and drag all of these into a database maybe I have set up somewhere or anything like that. And then I'm all done. If there wasn't the space at the top, if there wasn't that empty text block at the top, I would get dumped into page every single time, which is not fun. So if I drag this down to the bottom of the page, now I don't have, boom, I don't have a block underneath this template block. It's absolutely empty. So if I push Control A, you can see this is the last block. It's white space, so I could put a block there. I can click there and add a text block, but there isn't a text block there at the moment. So every time I push the template button, boom, it's going to throw out all of this, which I don't want to see. So put a block underneath it. And again, there we go. Now I can see the stuff. So there's the block that we put underneath all of this, and it's duplicating all those blocks we had inside the template. So that's some of the nuances that you may need to consider when using the template block and where to put it in your space so it doesn't muck up some of your aesthetics. So I believe that covers all of the basic blocks, all of the advanced blocks that are in Notion. If you have any questions, let me know in chat. I'm just going to double check over through all of the blocks. So I will go through the media and I will go through some of the embeds. I'm not going to go through all of the embeds in a future stream, but that is all of the basic blocks and advanced blocks inside of Notion with the color, backgrounds, and aesthetics explained. Right. As a very last thing, for those of you that are still here, tomorrow on the Notion Nerds podcast channel, John and I will be talking with Layla, a ClickUp consultant, and we're going to be talking about Notion and ClickUp and comparing those two together when it comes to task management, project management, how to use ClickUp or Notion for those things, and general overarching productivity discussions. So if you're interested in one of those two apps or just general productivity in general, make sure you check out that channel. I think I have it in the description. If I don't have it in the description, then you can find it as a linked channel on my YouTube channel. But until then, I will see you this time next. If you're not there anyway, I will see you this time again next week for another webinar stream about something. And if you do have any questions or anything for follow-ups, let me know on Twitter, YouTube, or anything like that. So until next week, I'll see you then. Bye.